But let's go now and talk about what could be reintroduced into the National Assembly quite soon. And that is the Liquor Amendment Bill. It was first introduced in 2016. It proposed a number of significant changes in regulating alcohol consumption in South Africa. Pertains to where liquor outlets can be situated in terms of its proximity to schools and places of worship. Another of the proposals is raising the legal drinking age from 18 to 21. We've spoken about this considerably over the last while, but the DG Murray Trust compiled a report putting forward the potential benefits of shifting the legal drinking age to 21. I'm joined now by Zimasa Mpemnyama, who is with the DG Murray Trust Alcohol Harms Reduction Campaign. Thank you so much, Zimasa. I really appreciate your time. Let's be honest, if teenagers already 18 and below already have access to alcohol, what's to stop someone aged between the ages of 18 and just under 21 from accessing alcohol? Zimasa, good morning.
Good morning, Lester, and thank you for having me on the show. So the premise of that conversation is that we would not necessarily want to just increase the legal drinking age to 21 and leave it at that. The premise is that you want to increase that legal drinking age, and there's been research that shows how this affects the long-term drinking patterns of young people, but also then encompass it with other legal regulations that won't enable people to have access to alcohol. So if you only produce and do that one legal policy intervention, which is the legal drinking age, then it won't possibly have the effects that you want. But the reason why we're calling for not only the Department of Trade and Industry, but for the Department of Health, for the Presidency, for the Department of Social Development, to also have a stake in policy development in alcohol policy is precisely because you need to have many different facets of policy regulation for it to work, including policing and regulation and making sure that these liquor outlets do adhere to these laws.
Where does the point of enforcement come in? Is it the point of sale, or is it the site of gathering? We had a couple of messages and yesterday onto our show. It's end of year for matrics as they prepare with the final matric exams. There are valedictory celebrations that are happening on beaches and places of gathering here in and around Cape Town and the Western Cape. So where would that point of enforcement be?
So there are different points of enforcement, as you mentioned, in that there needs to be at point of sale. So places where alcohol is sold, that is outlets where they sell for out consumption, where you take it away and drink away, would be a place of enforcement. But also you need enforcement for liquor authorities so that they can be able to go to establishments where people are drinking and sitting down to make sure that the people that go inside that establishment are not young people. But also you need to make sure that there's visible policing in spaces and public spaces to make sure that young people are not consuming alcohol. But also importantly in this conversation, there needs to be a change in the culture in which we consume alcohol in this country. And that is not at the forefront of conversations currently, because we have a culture that makes people think that alcohol is part of our social system and without it we can't exist. But we have to change that narrative so that people can self-police if they know the dangers of alcohol, if they know the far-reaching economic consequences that the consumptions that we do in South Africa have go as long as.
The statistics will tell us that 40% of South Africans actually consume alcohol. A very small number of that consumes a lot of alcohol, and that makes up for the numbers in South Africa. That's what gives us our drinking culture, even though 60% of this country does not consume. But let's talk about the also point of sale advertising and the marketing of alcohol products. Largely aspirational, largely if you consume and you're with your friends, you'll have a good time, guaranteed to have a good time, particularly if you buy this brand of cider or beer. Alcohol advertising, particularly a beer, has been about bringing the country together in having a good time and celebrating our South Africanness. What's your thoughts, and what should the legislation be saying when it comes to how alcohol is marketed in South Africa?
Thank you, Lester. So, as you mentioned, we have a binge drinking problem in South Africa. So, not a large population. Surprisingly, a lot of people are surprised by the statistic that not a lot of people drink in South Africa. We have quite a small portion of people who do drink, but the ones that do drink large amounts of alcohol in one sitting at the same time, which contributes to the headaches that we have around traffic accidents, gender-based violence, and the like. And this is partly due, as you're saying, to the advertising of alcohol, and how, for instance, we can remember when we were ushering South Africa into the democracy, alcohol played a large part in how we were thought to conceive of ourselves as a coherent nation based off of our beer drinking culture. And this is still persistent. And currently, you're seeing a lot of influencer and influencer culture that's being attached to the advertising of alcohol, where a lot of young people exist online, and there's not enough online regulation when it comes to alcohol. But you're seeing a lot of influencers advertising alcohol there, where a lot of young people exist. So the culture of advertising in South Africa has entrenched in us a behavior that says that if you drink this type of alcohol, therefore you have reached a particular social status. And a lot of people, and a lot of young people specifically, want to reach those social statuses. And that's because of the way and the language that advertises alcohol. And there's a long history of this and research.
Should communities have greater say on the provision of liquor licenses from a provincial authority? Currently, there's a petition that's been drawn up by residents of the Bull Cup. There's a hotel that has been established there. It currently doesn't have a liquor license. It's currently embarking on a process to apply for one. At the weekend, residents went to this hotel and says, we do not want you to have a liquor license. And that is based on the mores and standards of that particular heritage community. Should communities, residences, neighborhoods have greater say in who gets allowed a liquor license in their particular neck of the woods?
Mm-hmm. So currently, through provincial liquor authorities, communities can come together and oppose a liquor license. But the issue here is that communities don't know the avenues in which they can go to access this information. And we find that a lot of communities have a lot of liquor establishments that are licensed and unlicensed, but they don't know the avenues in which they can go to oppose these liquor licenses. So yes, communities do have that avenue, but it requires communities to come together in this instance that you're talking about and actively oppose these liquor licenses. And we have another case, for instance, as well, in the Kanaland municipality, where we have taken that municipality actively to court because they wanted to increase their trading hours to 4 a.m. in the morning, and they wanted casinos to sell alcohol 24 hours. And this is in a small community that is still largely affected by alcohol consumption and the historical legacy of the dope system. And the Western Cape High Court agreed with us and said that this community and municipality must not do this, and also they've reversed those laws. So communities do have avenues, and civil society has avenues. Like we've started to take some municipalities to court to reverse these trading hours, long trading hours.
Really appreciate your time, Zimasa Mpemnyama of the DG Murray Trust.